Follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
Hey, grab me one too.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft.
Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody.
We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Choice Hotels is a family of brands that helps you get the most for your money so you can be any traveler you want to be.
You could be a free hot breakfast hero at a comfort hotel.
Yes!
That's how you waffle.
Mr. This Script got a plot twist at a Radisson hotel.
A business big leaguer.
Go for key.
Even the ultimate pool float inflator.
With 22 brands and the best value for your money, Choice Hotels has a stay for any you. Book direct at choicehotels.com, where travels come true.
Gotta get the corners.
The human voice has always connected audiences with experiences. Major brands all across America have trusted Kever's voice time and time again. Conversational, powerhouse, intelligent, and sincere. That's the voice you need for your creative marketing process. KEAVERSVOICE.com. Kever's Voice, Kever's Voice, KeversVoice.com. Always on, all the time.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties through its programs Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes. Never not working. Never not working. Never ever not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield. Never not working.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening then? What's happening then, y'all? Today is, I don't even know what the day is no more. It's been a long day. Today is the 30th of October, 2024. It is 6 o'clock. Y'all know who this is. This is DVP, your host. And welcome to Round of Thoughts with DVP. Let's see here. I'm having a little technical difficulties right quick, so give me just a half a second to figure out what's really going on. And then y'all got my undivided attention. Pinky promise. All right, I think I'm good now. All right, so anyway, what's going on in the world of goings on? We got an election about to come up. We got foolishness and fuckery at an all-time high. It's some shit going on, ladies and gentlemen. And then we still got these it's crazy. We got race wars, and we got a battle of the sexes going. It's just too much. It's too much, y'all. Can we just all agree to try to get along for a minute or 6 or something? We fighting about nothing. We fighting amongst each other about nothing, and I don't know why. I don't know nothing except that we all confused here, and there's a power struggle going on, and shit, ain't nobody in power. How do you fight for something that ain't yours? What's the catalyst? What do we hope to gain? Why are we doing this? So THEO is THEO here with me. So we're gonna entertain y'all, ask some questions, and talk a little bit. And he has some good stuff going, but we may have to wait till next week to get into that, because one, it's the last day of it's the last day. What's up, Rob? It's the last day of breast cancer month. Well, for this show anyway, because I ain't gonna be here tomorrow. There he is. THEO is in the house. Hold on, say something right quick, brother. Let me make sure you fully there.
What's good? I'm plugging my charger in. Hold on.
All right, okay. All right, he there. All right, so you know, while he doing that, I just want to say something. I don't understand. Let me go back. Our ancestors fought and died for us to have the right to vote. Let that be the first and foremost thing. They fought for us to have the right to vote. Not to vote for who they wanted to or whatever, yada, 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 but for us to have the right to vote. That's first and foremost. Everybody has a right to vote. Everybody has a right to pick somebody based on whatever metrics they use to pick. Again, I don't have to like them. I don't have to like their reason. That ain't what our ancestors fought for. They fought for the right to have a voice. So in my world, as long as somebody is voting, it made the fight worthwhile. Now, what they do with that vote is not for me to decide, because if it's for me to decide, then I'm no better a dictator than anybody else, because we don't all have the same priorities. We don't all do the same things. I was talking to one of my clients today who is a multimillionaire, and he was explaining in detail why he is going to vote the way he votes. From his perspective, it made so much sense. But what I don't get is for the average person, and I'm gonna step outside my lane for a minute. For me and the THEOs, me and THEO, we don't make 600,000. We don't make $1 million a year. So we don't understand what some of the taxes that VP Harris is talking about. We don't understand the effect on them. What I do believe in my non-millionaire status is rich people always find loopholes. I don't care how you try to tax them. They pay good money for people to find loopholes for them. It's kind of like the whole DUI thing. And when I try to tell people, they say, oh, the police always target. The police target people who can afford to pay for DUIs. DUIs is big business for police forces. Guess what? You won't see a DUI task force. You won't see them in the hood because we can't afford to pay those fines. But them people who need the license, who need for their DUI not to be on their record, if you ever get in trouble, look and see what DUI attorneys cost. DUI attorneys charging the same rate as murder attorneys because it's big business. So when people are talking about who somebody should vote for and why, that's not for me to say. We can sit here and have intelligent debate, as me and Theo often do, even though we agree on a lot of things and we disagree on a lot of things. But I'm willing to bet that no matter who he vote for, is it going to affect our friendship? Because he got to do what's best for him and his family. He don't have to. In theory, he doesn't have to worry about me and my family. Like I don't have to worry about him and his. So when we have these discussions and we'll talk about the pros and cons of each and every person that comes up and go from there. The only thing that I try to do most of the time is be fair in comparisons. And that's all I ask for anybody. Be fair in comparison. Don't say something to me that's stupid because you're ignorant and say, I'm only voting for somebody because they're black. Because if you believe that, that means you're only voting for somebody because they're white, which means you have a slave master mentality where you talking about I got a whatever you call a bootlicker mentality. So you're telling more about your thought process than mine, because if you've never asked me why I would vote for somebody, you clearly don't have a clue. Because if blackness was the issue, then ain't neither one of them. We ain't voting for neither one of them. You can't just say you ain't gonna vote for her because she ain't black. Because I watched a couple things and I still ain't never heard her came out and say she was black. Now, does she look like us? To me, she does. I'm gonna put in the black category because that's what y'all do. Because without stepping on toes, number 7 didn't look shit like y'all, but y'all sure brought him in. He didn't look like us. He didn't live like us. And if you pay attention to the whole number 7 narrative, because I refuse to call his name because he was the biggest sellout in mankind, if you ask me. But y'all invite him to the picnic, gave him a dashiki because he let his hair down and wore afro for a couple of days.
Who we talking about? Send it to me in the private chat.
Football player.
Number 7, who played for us?
No, he played for San Francisco.
Oh, that number 7. This guy.
That was the biggest, and y'all jumped on his shit. And since I'm here, remember now, when he called NFL a plantation, but then he wanted to come back. Theo, help me out if I'm wrong on this one. When we see a woman going to a bad relationship, we blame her for going back. So this dude who said he didn't want to be part of this told y'all he called it a plantation and said he wanted to be a slave again. And then y'all was sitting there, get that man a job back, put him back on the plantation. Did y'all realize how stupid that sounded?
You can't be the martyr and the eulogist at your own funeral. You gotta pick.
Right. But he studied. Who was his dad, Robert? Who? We ain't going for that one. But it don't matter. He still never led a black lifestyle. He never, ever led a black lifestyle. He went to UNLV. He had a white girl. I'm sorry, he had Jewish adopted parents. He was with a white girl his whole entire life. And all of a sudden, y'all fell for the banana in the tailpipe. He sat there and got on a knee. And Phil, do you watch football?
I will say this, man. I was the biggest football fan, and when Cap protested, I thought it was a justifiable protest, and I regret. So all of the things that followed, the settlement, fine.
Stay with me on this. I'm gonna get you there. He didn't protest until he lost his starting job. At no time when he was a starter did he say shit. Not now time. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. As long as he was starting, he was quiet as a church mouse. When Blaine Gabbert came in and took his job, all of a sudden he wanted to protest because he was a nobody. Now, y'all jumped on the bandwagon. Look at his stats. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. He was ranked 20th in all the 20 or lower in all the major categories. Look it up.
Okay.
I did.
Okay. Well,
So,
I got to push back on that part. He was not one of the worst quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, me. Don't let the hype fool you. Don't let the hype fool you. Remember, they lost the Super Bowl because he couldn't throw a pass over Richard Sherman's head because he was underthrowing balls. He couldn't read defense. He couldn't read defenses. He could run, and he had an afro.
He took them to 3 consecutive NFC championships.
No. That was Patrick Willis. That defense took them. That defense. He didn't do shit.
No, we can't do that.
Nope.
He wasn't Trent Dilfer back there. He was definitely a dynamic.
Trent Dilfer could read defenses.
Trent Dilfer is the only quarterback that's ever got released after he won a Super Bowl, though.
But he could read defenses. And that's because they thought they were stepping up to Elvis. Everybody wanted Elvis in the building. But we're going to get there. But anyway, Number 7 told y'all all the enemies. One of the first enemies he named was Nike. And then who did he end up doing a campaign slogan with? Nike. And y'all bought his poster. Y'all got him more money from the people he told y'all was the king of the oppressors. And here we go. If we're going to have a fight, if we're going to have intelligent dialogue, what's going on, Robert Drakes? We got to treat everybody the same. You can't say, me and Theo going to have 2 separate shows. You can't say, well, I don't watch DVP show because he got a beard. Well, then you can't watch nobody's show who got a beard.
Fair enough.
See, one of the things that Theo has been, he has said, I don't agree with it, but he said it and I respect him for it. He ain't gonna support nobody who ain't talking about reparations. He is yet to say, I ain't heard it. He is yet to say, I ain't gonna support nobody black who don't talk about reparations. His whole thing is if they ain't talking about it, he don't want to hear it. I have to respect that because there's consistency. You can't tell me that you won't let somebody do this, but then it don't apply to the same. If they running for the same thing, they running for the same position. So it's okay with being a felon. You don't care nothing about that. You don't care nothing about, and I'm gonna stick to this, you don't care nothing about the women in your life who he want to treat as he want to treat them as field class citizens because you believe in this terror thing, which tells me you don't know shit about money. And it don't matter which mainstream media you choose to look at, because I watch them all just for shits and giggles. But I will say this from what I have seen and read. CNN, when they use their fact checker, the fact checker went out to Biden, the fact checker went out to Obama. Anybody who wants to tell the truth, the fact checker put all the stuff there. MSNBC is way, way, way to the Democrat side. Fox News is way to the Trump. They ain't even GOP. But even when I watch MSNBC, they have disagreed with some of the things that Biden and Harris said. Fox don't disagree with nothing that the other dudes say. And again, I say, you vote for who you want to, but don't sit back and tell me why I'm voting for somebody when you can't defend what you're doing. And that's the point of everybody get to vote for who they want to. I had somebody call me and they say, well, who should I vote for? I can't tell you. I don't know what's important to you. Well, who you going to vote for? I can't tell you. I don't know what's important to you. It's not my job to influence you. I want you to read and figure out what are the most important things to you. Then read. Or if you don't want to read like most of us don't watch the news. Watch them speak. Watching them speak has done more for me than any interview that they've done where it was just them or listening to one of their edits. And I'm sitting here, and I think I'm intelligent, and I think the brother who was across from me is extra intelligent because I went to him for political advice. He educated the old man. And so I had to start paying attention to little things that I thought were important. I thought, don't matter what he think, he gave me some stuff. I talked to a couple other people. They gave me some stuff. It ain't a real world we living in. It's what's weird is how we have let 45, we have let his lack of concern or empathy, we have normalized it. Now, and Theo can talk greatly about this because I know if Biden had done 1/4 of the things that 45 has done, I mean, when Biden stumbled in that interview, the debate, they was all on him. Y'all seen that dude dancing and swaying the YMCA, didn't know what the hell was going on, but y'all act like that was okay. So I'm confused on how you moving the goalpost. One old dude versus another old dude, everything was equal. In my word, everything was equal. You had two old dudes that didn't belong there. And Theo will agree with that wholeheartedly because that's the one something. That's why I always thought it funny when people talk about who you hate. And I said, if I'm being honest, this is the worst election for people, period. Period. Neither one of them was a good candidate. Neither one. When she came along, I can't say she was the worst of the two because you already had two that couldn't do it. I would have rather seen her go against Nikki Haley. But once it was, and I stay true to this, it could have been anybody versus him, and I would have voted for anybody twice. Twice. So, Robert, the better candidate for me is the one that makes sense for America because I got good health insurance. My finances are good. My life right now, if I'm being totally honest, is better now than it was 4 years ago. I watched how they tried to convince us that it wasn't. I remember 4 years ago when the grocery shelves were bare. I remember 4 years ago when hospitals were doing surgery in parking lots. I remember 4 years ago when a guy lied to us about so much shit. I remember a little bit longer ago than that when a guy said that Mexico was going to pay for a wall, and when they didn't, he shut the government down because he wanted America to pay for it. See, that's what I remember, and I know those are facts. So when people say, well, she ain't did, and me and Theo talked about this before, vice presidents don't do shit in the first place. You can't name nothing that any of them have done of note, except for, and I hate to have to say this, Pence is the only vice president who's done anything in the past 30, 40 years, and he upheld the Constitution. Against who? The same guy who is running now that wants to get rid of the Constitution, who believes that he can't lose. And Theo did the fact check for me because I didn't want no parts of it. The former president who makes a good job of picking people, most of his staff left, got fired, quit, yada, yada, yada. But he do a good job of picking people. and we as black people, because this is a people of color thing now, we love to repeat the dumb narrative that white people always stick together. And I'm thinking, who y'all think bringing 45 down? And the sucky part of it is that not only is it white people who are bringing him down, it's white GOP people. Nancy ain't had to say shit. Ain't no Democrat had to say nothing about him. All this is coming from within. If I'm looking at Philip in a great light and thinking he's the greatest person I ever met, and then Philip fiance tell me something, Philip children tell me something, Philip co-workers tell me something, why am I still looking at Philip like this? Oh, they all haters. They mad because what? The kids mad because they can't get a higher allowance. The fiance mad because she can't get a Lexus. His co-worker's mad because he won't buy lunch. Y'all got to be shitting me. All we do is make excuses for him. And, a dude tried to argue me to my, Harris done lost some people. I said, and I ain't doubting that she has because I seen some of them on MSNBC. But tell me which ones are bad-mouthing her. Tell me which one of Obama's people bad-mouthed him in 8 years. Tell me. I'm waiting. And I know if there's somebody who knows this, Theo would know. And I was going to do a show on something else, but somebody called me and got me riled up because I got something else I want. And I was like, I sure hope Theo here. Because, like I said, Theo is my political expert. And he gonna tell you some people who know more than him, but damn it don't matter. In my world, he's my expert. So when I say something, you already said earlier, I'm gonna give you some pushback. And that's what we do. But some things are just undeniable, whether we like them or not. When Harris was named as for the VP, she was not my first pick. She was not my second pick. But hey, based on what was going on, she was the pick because I wasn't voting for the other side regardless. And that's what I don't get and I don't understand about us. When people say, oh, Michelle should run, Oprah should run, I'm thinking, how stupid are y'all? You want two more people who have nothing to do with politics. Ain't we seen what non-politicians do in the political world? But Michelle or Oprah, who seem to have good sense, why in the hell would they want any parts of this?
But do they really though? I mean, well, not Michelle Obama. Does Oprah even really have good sense considering Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz happened on her watch?
But don't we all have a girlfriend or two that we regret that we don't want to talk about in public?
Fair enough.
We all have some, we all have a oops. Some of us have 2 or 3 oopses.
Fair enough.
And it's like, okay, so she made a mistake. And you know, I hate to be biblical, but who amongst us ain't? That's what they say. I made mistakes. Theo has made mistakes. And shit, I'm 60, well, 59, and I'm probably gonna make a few more mistakes before it's all said and done. So, ladies and gentlemen, all I want you to do is let people vote who they want to. If y'all can't have an intelligent discussion, then why do it? Some people have already made up their mind. Some people haven't. When they ask you questions, be able to have an intelligent conversation with them. When they ask you questions, be able to answer some of their questions without deflecting and redirecting. See, I can say, and Theo can say why he is voting for his candidate without dogging the other candidate. To me, it ain't no different than me and Theo chasing the same girl, and all I'm doing is bad-mouthing Theo. I ain't saying nothing good about me. I'm just bad-mouthing Theo, which means I'm not a good choice either. Initially, Democrats don't know how to fight. That's the craziest thing because they're mostly black. It's a black-supported thing. Black people know how to fight, and we don't know how to do nothing else. We know how to talk shit. Obama made a statement at one of his things. 45 keep telling y'all about this great economy. And again, I'm going to let Theo co-sign on this one. The first 2 years of an economy come from the last president. That's pretty much a standard. After them 2 years was up, what happened to his economy? It went to shit. Well, that's when COVID hit. Yeah, whatever. And I believe if we follow some of the other countries, I think Canada did a 30-day shutdown to try to control it. Had we not been lied to about the devastation that it was going to bring, we would have came out better. But he was like, oh, I'm going to tell him it's going to be done by Easter, even though he told Bob Woodward how dangerous it was. But he stood in line to us, infected half the fucking Secret Service. What's the guy from New York that hate his guts because he gave him COVID, almost killed him? What's the big dude name who was running for president too?
Chris Christie. It's from Jersey.
Chris Christie.
From Jersey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christie wanted to kill him because Christie caught COVID messing around with him. One of the black guys who was in his circle died, and I ain't saying he did it, but I ain't saying he didn't do it. All I know is what the facts say. They was in his immediate circle. He caught it. They caught it. He got the Magic Johnson shot. They didn't, because he was telling everybody to drink bleach. And he didn't drink no bleach. He didn't drink no bleach. So, yeah, I believe in who I believe in, but I ain't telling y'all to vote for. Like I said, Theo, my man, and Theo voted for somebody totally different. And I respect that because he stood by his guns, but he didn't say, because I ain't going to do this, because I ain't going to do that. And we talked about it because I ain't heard his friends plan, but I ain't looked for it either because I didn't deem him to be a legitimate candidate, but that was my view. I can't tell Theo he got to look at life like me. Theo young enough to see colors as they change. I'm old now. Everything is black, white, and gray. That's it. This. It's either time to pee or time to sleep. Theo be like, man, I think I'm gonna stay up late tonight. I don't have that thought no more. If I'm up late, it's because I still gotta pee past my bedtime. That's the only reason I'm up late now. So, Theo, go ahead, man.
I just turned 42 on Sunday. I promise we both taking naps. We taking naps around the same time. I may take a nap 30 minutes later than you do.
See, Theo, you take naps. I go to sleep. I'm not even trying to do it. I wake up from sleep to take a nap, but naps is I need to sleep. I need to sleep. That, you know what I'm saying? But and that's all, because like I said, I don't want to keep harping on this, and I don't want to tell people who they should or who they should not vote for. Vote your conscience. Just make sure that your conscience is clear. Make sure that when you vote, don't try to disparage nobody else about who or why they do something. Just make sure, if we're going to be fair, they're holding everybody to the same standard. See, if me and Theo run from the same office, me being older shouldn't play an issue. Who knows the most? If Theo know the most, go for him. Oh, well, he too young. If that's your only criteria, see, then I got issues with you. Because with the two old dudes, it wasn't that they was old, it was that they were old and out of touch. Old just stood out the most because both of them was, shit, they ain't got the 6 numbers in their social security number. That stood out. They shouldn't have been there. They shouldn't have been there. So, but let me drink some of my root beer. Go ahead, Theo.
No, I mean, you raised some really good points, and I continue to say, I mean, this is why I'm following my own advice, which is I'm not going to pretend like I don't have I don't have more than 2 choices. You know what I mean? And I really believe that we got to inch away from the 2-party plantation. We often hear people refer to one of the parties as a plantation to kind of shide or browbeat Black people for their loyalty to the Democrat Party, but the reality is that they're both plantations. And if we're not being served, we have to operate in our own agency and say, you know what, let's go towards. Some of us got to go to another whole other situation. But speaking of plantations, so it's always been a theme. It's always been so. I'll give you a little bit of background. I grew up in a mega church. That is my. I grew up. I started going to this church when I was about 9 years old, and I stopped when I stopped going when I had this when I stopped going when I stopped having to go, but it wasn't because I didn't want to go. I went to school, and then when I came back, I kept going when I would come back home, and then I started to kind of part ways with this particular pastor because it was some of his political viewpoints were starting to bleed over into the pulpit. And it was around the time that George Bush was running for re-election. And, I always say this, I was politically immature at the time, so I didn't know how to disagree with you politically and not disagree with you and still hold space, right? To your earlier point. So I left the church, left that church. And as I have matured politically, I've had a more objective, probably more critical perspective of that whole evangelical scene, and so what I'm going to speak to is not in a complete kind of repudiation or a rebuke of Christians or even and specifically just my context, right? Like I'm not here to say don't go here, you're stupid if you go there, it's a cult, all the things that I heard coming up that I would have fought you over. I have a friend of mine who remembers who we have a mutual friend, and one of their memories of me in high school was wanting to fight somebody about my pastor. So I was one of them, but I totally am not like that no more. I mean, I haven't been like that in several decades. But that's just kind of how indoctrinated I was at the time. But then as I just, was able to step back, just like when you get out of a relationship and you start to see how damaging the aspects of that experience were. And then you start to also see how whiteness shows up even in your religious experience. And similar to wrestling, I know this is a weird connection, but similar to like being a wrestling fan coming up, and I was like Hulk Hogan fan, and like you know, everything about wrestling was just like life for me when I was a kid. And then I realized that wrestling wasn't real. Somebody told me it wasn't real, you know, and I just stopped believing and stopped watching it. But then you watch documentaries, you're like, hold up, man, these folks was racist. So the whole time Hulk Hogan was like damn near a Klansman. Like all of these guys that were like childhood heroes, that they were like staples of an 80s baby raised in the 90s kind of experience. These dudes were racist. Vince McMahon, all these guys were racist. It makes total sense that Donald Trump would be wrestling. Like it makes total sense that like even the way politics kind of plays out, like wrestling matches tend to go, right? And so I have made a similar observation and assessment of televangelists and evangelicals. This latest kind of, you know, thing, this latest revelation of that, or kind of confirmation of that, has come within the last week, where we have this guy, Donnie Swaggart. And for anybody who's not, you know, raised in mega life, so Donnie Swaggart. So we all remember in Living Color when they used to make fun of the preachers, and Jim Carrey would, like, you know, do like the crying preacher, and, you know, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, like that whole thing, right? So Donnie Swaggart is the son of the infamous Jimmy Swaggart. And so he made this critique of the Black church last week, and it was really after some Black preachers had openly started to endorse Kamala Harris. And I was particularly disturbed because I saw where Jamal Bryant was praying for Kamala Harris. And it kind of reminded me of when Obama was being prayed, you know, had his hands laid on him when he was running for office. And then it also reminded me of when Trump had a similar, you know, photo op of, you know, all these evangelical pastors, you know, the Paula White, the Kenneth Copelands of the world, who has recently endorsed Trump again. These were people that were like, you know, this is my particular, you know, religious context. These people were like Avengers. Like these people were like heroes in the faith. Like your Kenneth Copelands, your Jesse Duplanises, your Kenneth Hagin, Creflo Dollar, Joyce Myers. You can go down. I can go down the list of like these Avengers of the faith, right? And some people call them prosperity preachers, and there is an element of that. And of course, some of them have come out and, you know, disavowed that whole theology. But, you know, the deed is done. But what it has done for me is like make me see how like that. First of all, the emergence of like the church becoming more openly political. It happened during the Reagan era, you know, that like there used to be a time, like, you know, believe it or not, Democrats used to be kind of like the more moralizing party. You know, Jimmy Carter was, you know, famously, you know, openly about his belief. It was almost obnoxiously so, but it was par for the course. You know, he was definitely pro-Israel. You know, definitely believe that he kind of came into office, you know, under this religious mandate. And then we see the switch happen in the early 90s where, you know, the evangelicals who had kind of, they kind of had these niche pockets of influence, you know, in Texas in particular in the 40s and 50s. But then we kind of see it kind of take over the GOP in the 80s, you know, the moral majority, and so you start seeing the lines being blurred between politics and religion. And as someone who is in the nonprofit space, I still it boggles the mind how these ministries are not losing their 501c3 status by doing this, but that's a whole other issue. But so you start to see it. You start to see where the GOP becomes like the party of like they corner the market on morality, which is why, to your earlier point, Trump is the antithesis of everything that the GOP has kind of branded itself as over the last 40, 50 years. He can be, he doesn't have to be in any particular pocket or subscribe to any particular tenet, theological tenet, to still be, lauded and amplified as this face of, the moral majority. I thought he was actually going to undo it. I thought that he was going to be the undoing of that, but Democrats didn't capitalize on. Like, for me, it's like, everybody, people have been saying this for a while. Trump is everything that we thought of Barack Obama would be, like, stereotypically. He's everything we thought he would be. So I thought that the Democrats would kind of exploit that, but they didn't, because they're weak. But now we're seeing, as we kind of near this, the election, where evangelicals are like, they're just doing what evangelicals have always done. It's like, when do we stop reaching across the pew and start calling out, and not when do we, because you see it. What you see is well, let me finish that thought. So when do we start reaching across the pew and start saying these people are not worshiping the same God that we're worshiping? Like, and I know you're not like a particularly religious man, so I'm just, this is kind of rhetorical, but when do people in that were either raised evangelical or in those evangelical spaces, or just people that are Christians in general, Black people in particular, who can, so we all know that, like, it is far more common for Black people to attend a majority white church than it is for white people to attend a majority Black church. Also, another layer to that, it's far more common for a white pastor to preside over a Black congregation than it is for a Black pastor. I mean, you would never see a Black pastor presiding over a predominantly white congregation. Those things have to be called out. Those things have to be dealt with. And to your point about being consistent, it is just difficult to hear, to only hear people, come out in opposition to Donnie Swagger. I'm going to read what he said. But it's difficult to hear people, the only people that come out in opposition to Donnie Swagger so happen to be outside of the whole evangelical scene. So he says, the statement I'm about to make, I'm going to be called a racist, and I will be called every name under the sun, but somebody needs to stand up and speak to the Black church. First of all, nigga, who are you talking to? Like you, anyway. So that's what he starts off with. It's like, I'm not trying to be racist, but here we go. He says, when the largest African-American Pentecostal denomination, when that leader stands up and said, I endorse that woman, he was saying, I endorse murder, I endorse homosexuality, I endorse lesbianism, I endorse transgenderism, I endorse every evil that hell could prosper or bring up to be right. That's wrong, folks. Of course, the crowd erupts in applause, and of course it's predominantly white, but he kind of goes on and says, and the Black church votes predominantly for the party that is anti-God. What is going on here? Well, first of all, it's hard to hear that critique of the Black church coming out of any white man's mouth, because it is an ahistorical like critique, right? So like the very fact that we have a Black church and a white church goes directly to this point that we were not allowed to be in white spaces, you know, even down to like, I learned this some years ago where, you know, the tradition of ushers wearing white gloves. So that goes back to a time when Black people were serving in white spaces, and white people didn't even want Black folks to touch them, so they wore gloves. Like this stuff is so insidious, and it's difficult not to hear it because, you know, white man going white man, but what's more difficult is to hear the silence of the Black evangelical like preachers, you know. So we got, you know, for my generation, I would say Mike Todd is probably one of the more, you know, prominent millennial voices. I would probably go Darius Daniels. I actually like Darius Daniels. Darius Daniels is probably, you know, kind of emerging as that. But often we would hear one of two things come out of those kinds of preachers, you know, messages, particularly on race. Either they will rebuke Black folk, or they will subscribe to colorblind theology, right? They'll go into these things about, you know, why we have to, you know, Black people have to be accepting of white people, and white people have to be accepting of Black people, and we just got to get along. And it's like, Black people have never not accepted white people. You know what I mean? And to Robert's point, you know, Dr. King saying 11 o'clock is the most segregated hour in Christian America. Absolutely. Like, that's probably the most poignant, and it's the most poignant analysis of the American church that's ever, you know, been, you know, brought to bear. But it's the one that we run away from. And so I'm wondering when there will be an exodus from the evangelical plantation. When do we start? When do we either say we're going to burn that motherfucker down, or we're just going to leave and let the Klan run it, because the Klan been running it? And also, where is the critique for the silent Black preachers, including the one that I grew up under? It's complicated. You know what I mean? Like, it's complicated because I know that the caricature of this, and I'm not going to mention him because I'm just not, but the caricature, he's been turned into a caricature. He's been a caricature for quite some time. Is not who he is in reality, right? But the critique is real. You know, like some of the critique, I'll say that, is real. It's necessary. It is hard to. It's just hard to not see it and to not feel a way about it. I used to have these debates with my mom some years ago, and you know, this is, you know, my mom was always fearful that I would be like, I would join the Nation of Islam. So I would talk to her. I'd be like, you know, why is it that when I go to church, I got to leave my color at the door? You know, why doesn't Pastor so-and-so speak to race? Like, why doesn't he speak to racism? Why doesn't he talk about, you know, the things that we experience once we leave these church walls? You know, and I don't think that, you know, like, you know, God made me who I am, and it is not ungodly to see myself through the lens of who he made me. And one of those lenses is my color and my experience and the things that I have to kind of figure out and work through because of the color of my skin. I don't think that it is, I think it would be, there's a level of cognitive dissonance that I would have to kind of operate in to attend to you know, be in these spaces and get all that I'm getting. And a lot of it was like good. I mean, I'm not gonna hold you, like it was good, but to like not address the elephant in the room, and then have to sit through a pastor, and this is common among Black evangelicals. I've heard Black pastors use the N-word over the pulpit when they're talking about Black folk. and sometimes there's white folks in the pews. So the time that they address blackness or race, they're rebuking black folk in some kind of way, and then the other time they're just silent. They're just silent. So the closest that I even saw, my childhood pastor even get to speaking about race was during George Floyd, and even then it was still like, you missing it. And I know you missing it on purpose because you are a highly educated, highly intelligent man. And I've seen you dissect so many other, complex social matters and the like. But you refuse to deal with this. And part of the reason why I won't make it about that particular figure is because that is a common experience in those circles. So like, what's been y'all's experience? If there's anybody, that is in the chat that grew up, I call it growing up mega. One could also say surviving mega. But is there anybody that has experienced this kind of break where you're like, it's not feeding me? Like, this space is not what the church was to the civil rights movement. It has not been to any human or civil rights struggles since that time, and it's noticeable, and there's a reason for the silence. But when do we start to say, without going into like histrionics and just chastising, like, I'm not here to call nobody no Uncle Tom, a sellout, none of that stuff. I am genuinely interested in understanding like why we won't either burn this plantation down, or why a lot of people in those spaces are just they won't call it out. They won't call out the very glaring inconsistencies that show up.
Because the inconsistency that you're looking for them to call out is they're a flag bearer for it. As I listen to some of the things you say, and I remember because I grew up in a church, and the church, like white privilege, depends on our ignorance. The black church back when I was growing up was a good place because truly, when I was growing up, we only had one real enemy, and that was the white guy. That was the white man. We weren't as destructive to each other as we are now. The competition wasn't the same. The monkeys in a barrel thing wasn't the same. But as we became more intelligent, as we became a little bit more financially secure, our evangelical leaders didn't. They became more financially driven. Oof. I did some security for churches, and one of the pastors said, "Why don't you go to church?" And I said, I'd rather not have that conversation. Let's just keep it business. And he's like, "No, I really would like to know." I said, because every time when it's election season, I've seen this at every church I've ever been to, worked for, or whatever. Y'all are bringing these people that y'all want y'all flock to vote for. But when shit go wrong, y'all never bring them back to answer. Ooh. And y'all won't answer for them. And y'all know that they're wrong.
Yeah.
And y'all just keep acting like nothing ever happened, because now your flock is hurting, and they're hurting because of a decision that you led them to, because they believed in you as their leader. I say, so from that perspective, you failed. I don't care what message you're giving out the rest of the time. If your person hurt me and you know it, but you want me to keep going on, you want me to keep forgiving, you want me to keep praying for them, well, somewhere in the Bible, and I ain't read it all, but somewhere in the Bible, there's a whole thing that says an eye for an eye. So if somebody hurt me, why are you telling me to pray for them? That is not what the Bible says. So it's like when you get these evangelicals, they'll give you the flip side. Oh, well, turn the other cheek. Okay, well, I only got 2 cheeks. They done stabbed me 3 times. What the fuck am I supposed to do? Right. And when you push them, because like I said, I even got a few friends that, because I got questions. I want y'all to tell me from y'all Christian side where I'm amiss. And you see them get quiet when I ask certain questions, because they know what I said goes against everything they believe in. So they can't defend it, but they don't want to tell me I'm right. So we're at an impasse. And so we just let the conversation go because I still got questions. But who's going to answer my questions now? And when we look at white privilege, and you said it, a white man can lead a black church, but a black man can't lead a white church. Because, and you know why? As long as a black man is leading a black church, we can revolt against him. We can get him out. Now, don't get a white guy out. But, and I've been to a couple of white churches. As time progressed, you know what white churches were better at than we were? They were better at getting rid of cancers inside up on the pulpit. Once one of their, especially after the whole Catholic thing on, once one of their little pulpit people get accused of something, or they got to come off their pulpit. First they come off the pulpit, then they get put out the church. There's no ceremony. There's no somebody's gone. They just won't talk about it no more. This is like a true cancer. They cut it out and it's gone. Be like, hey, what happened to Pastor Smith? And everybody give you the look, and they just keep talking. Pastor Smith never existed. Well, we keep saying, oh, you know, we got to pray for somebody. Well, how long are we going to let this go on? And I hate to give them that credit, but I talked about it with all the white people who have been, name a white person who got caught up in the Me Too movement that white people tried to defend.
I have an observation, an assessment of that though. I think that number one, yes, you're right. I think black people are more protective of our people when we transgress than white people are. But the flip side of that is black people are also conditioned to police each other more than white people are. So white people can just dismiss, and you know they can who's the guy, Penn State, the coach from Penn State. But they can just literally write you out of history and move on like nothing.
Like you never existed.
Like you never existed. We have been, because we're subhuman in the eyes of America, when one of ours ascends to any form of influence or acclaim, we're not as, our identities individually are tied into that person. And so to erase that person is to erase a part of us. So we cling to not them, but we cling to the part of them that we identify ourselves in. So it becomes difficult. It's like it's the OJ phenomenon. It's like nobody really was messing with OJ like that. Like I've never met a for real diehard OJ Simpson fan. Like my dad used to talk about as far as like when he was a kid, he liked OJ Simpson. He wouldn't play for the Bills, but as far as just like I've never met a real OJ fan.
That's because you're young. I know I could tell you about a bunch of them.
Okay, fair enough, and I'll grant you that. But the reason that I like OJ is because of who he represents to America, to white America. He's a thorn in white America's side. He got away with murder. I mean, I don't believe he actually murdered those girls. I mean, the girl and Nicole and the white boy, but he's a.
He did. I'll tell you why later.
Say what?
He did, and I'll tell you why I know later.
You said he did?
And I'll tell you why I know.
Okay, fair enough. But that's notwithstanding, I believe that we do have like this complicated relationship with black folk who see black people are either like subhuman in the eyes of America, or we're magical Negroes in the eyes of America. Where there is no in between, like there is no space for the everyday black person. So like we either got to be, we're either like Mike Tyson going to jail for like sexual assault and all these things, or we're Mike Tyson knocking folks out in 3 seconds. That's how America kind of reconciles its relationship with black folk. And so we don't want people to forget the fact that we are capable of doing equal, if not better, than white people when we're given the opportunity. And so any people that make it through the cracks, the Cosbys, the OJs. I mean, there's a tradition. You can start with the rock and roll guy who was caught in the car with the white girl, Chuck Berry. You can start with Chuck Berry on down to any current black male celebrity, Diddy, and you can see where they cracked the ceiling, like they made it, but they screwed up in some kind of way, and they've been dismissed. And so we find ourselves we find ourselves being defenders of the indefensible, but it's really not that though. It's really us saying, no, wait a second. No, we're still like human, and so it has nothing to do with them, but it has everything to do with them. So and I think church places are notorious for that. Go ahead though.
I'm gonna push back because we don't push up average enough. White people adopt who we tell them they should believe are our heroes because they hear us talking about them. If we stop pushing up people who were of questionable character, we wouldn't have those same issues. Part of the reason that Obama is so middle of the pack is because for the black people, he's not vocal enough, but he's managing his world. So he ain't got caught up in nothing. A lot of his failures were because we didn't understand the political system, but we want him to be more this, more that. And those are the things that get you put in the eye of the target. He don't want to be in the eye of the target. He wants to live his life and still be able to enjoy parts of it. If we push normal more, I mean, you brought up Diddy, and somebody was talking about how he's the pinnacle, and I was like, how? He's not even a billionaire. Jay-Z is, but Jay-Z don't stay in the light like that. He get his. He got 31 white boys to let him lead the biggest event that they got going. We don't realize how great an accomplishment that is. He got 31 white billionaires to let him control the biggest event they got once a year.
I will push back on that, and I would say he was strategically placed by 31 white boys to clean up their image.
And if we do that, but guess what he still don't do? He still don't make a lot of noise to bring undue attention to himself. He don't act like he better than they can get away. And we will all believe that he's probably done something, but he ain't just been in your face with it, because we can all do something, but we don't keep dragging other people or thinking, what was OJ's downfall? And he is said, OJ said the white people like him, and he believed he was one of them.
Right.
What if you like, hey, little colored boy, we like you. You can even sleep with 1 or 2 hour women, but don't get beside yourself. Don't get, and that's what we have to have a fine line, and we have to be better at picking people and uphold them. We can't keep, I looked at the whole Bill Cosby thing, and I'm trying to figure out how the statute of limitations work. But I'm also disgusted by him. And I hate to say this, I truly do. But if you're going to drug some women, how do you drug the ugliest women on the planet? For that alone, you should have went to prison. Your wife was ugly, and every woman that you drugged, somewhere between Sasquatch and a gorilla. What the hell was you thinking?
Well, some of them look good back in the day, though. Some of them look good back in the day.
No, they didn't. They look like boy bands from the 80s. All the prettiest one was just simply ugly. Simply, that was the best.
The one from the school, the University of Pennsylvania, who looked like a wrestler. Yeah, you're right. But here's what makes it more complicated though with the black preacher. The black preacher also has this other. Like, okay, not only is he a super Negro, but he has this relationship with the divine, and because humans are wired to believe in a being, and this man, and sometimes women, but for the most part, it's men. I'm thinking about Juanita Bynum, but this man is the vicegerent of God, this whole spiritual father culture.
They don't even believe that, though. Theo, they don't believe that.
No, they don't believe it. I think
the congregation don't believe that.
Yeah. No. Wait, you talking about the attendees?
Yeah.
Oh, no. The attendees be believing these folks is God now.
Bro,
okay.
I'm gonna have to let you come and work with me sometime, because that's where you find out the best information. When something go wrong and you say something, people come and just whisper stuff in your ear. They be like, "See, I knew him sleep with them boys gonna catch up with him." What? Hold on, I didn't even know that. What? I've been going to church here 15 years. Oh, it's not a well kept secret. I'm like, well, shit. Y'all know this? And they adopted, and I hate to call, they adopted nigga mentality. He not doing it to me. And that's been our biggest downfall. As long as something doesn't happen to us, we okay with upholding a bullshit standard because we think everybody else is okay with it. It was kind of like when everybody swear, oh, everybody saw the video of him peeing on that girl. Well, I ain't never seen the video. So I hate when people say everybody saw it. I ain't never seen it. And I believe that had I seen it, I would have been disgusted a long time ago. I ain't saying I want to listen to his music. I just wouldn't have bought it. But we will, for us to get over our guilt complexes, we'll say everybody knows this or everybody did this. Come on, everybody. So your depraved indifference, you're trying to make it contagious when it's not. And that's how we get away with it. And that's how the preachers get away with it. Because like I was just telling Robert, religion hurt us because our religion taught us to pray. When we talked before about Malcolm and Martin was a prayer to start with. Then Martin turned into Malcolm because prayer will only get you so far. It's cute to keep hope alive, but when hope slap you for the second time, you ain't got no more cheeks to give. You got to start doing something. And this is where we need to have a truly more warrior mentality. When I was listening to one of the things people were saying about this whole presidential thing, and I don't know who said it, but it was like, listen, whether you vote for her or not, at some point we have got to stop letting people disparage our black women. No matter what you believe about anything, we have got to get to a point where when you start talking bad about a black woman, black men stand up. I don't care what y'all think about it. She's a black woman by every fucking metric. We have got to stand up at some point and stop letting people feel comfortable about being disrespectful to black women. Once that happens, because we know historically who has always led us, and it's always black women who have had our back. Always. Harriet Tubman was doing her whole thing.
Yeah, Fannie Lou Hamer. I mean,
and before Coretta Scott, what's the other girl's name? Who the teenager who they didn't want to use?
Oh, Colette.
Colvin.
Yeah.
Women have stood behind us. Women have, when we was at our guiltiest and our lowest, women have always had our back. And let me be really clear on this. Black women have always had our back. We are quick to give up on them and leave them out because we want to be victims so bad. And I hate when that happens because to me that's what emasculates us. Ain't nothing a woman can say that will emasculate me. Nothing. She can call me whatever she wants to. It's funny. It won't emasculate me. What I see emasculating us is I go in Theo's house and I start disparaging his fiance. And he looking at her like, well, stand up for yourself. That's emasculating. We emasculate each other. And we let people emasculate us about our women. And we don't. And I'm not asking nobody to fight unless you got a baseball bat, then swing about a swing. But at some point, we have got to let people know what is not okay. As he said earlier, Dems don't fight. Dems fight like Christians. I'm gonna pray for you. When the first debate was when 45 said something about Biden's dead son, we all know what that means right there. And when you pick up a dead child,
we got to run one. I mean, the debate is over.
Yeah, F the Secret Service, F this career. Right then, it's a fight. It is what it is. Oh, look, he was being the better person. Well,
no,
fuck the better person. Because right now, it's on. And you know, I ain't gonna get too far because I like what you was talking about. But to me, it was no different than when people was trying to bring down Will Smith. Will Smith did what a lot of us don't have the balls to do. Will Smith told him, man, keep her name out your mouth. Because what do we know realistically? Now, we got to be cool to be talking about each other. I can talk about my family joke all day long. Theo can talk about his family joke all day long. I can't tell jokes about Theo's family.
Right.
Ooh, no. Not in the same space. I can do it on the show because he can't reach over and hit me. But in his space, this is something you don't do. And it's funny. He should. You don't talk about people's family, especially when you see them not being receptive. So, and I bet, I had this conversation with a couple of women who dated me. They say, yeah, if I see you getting upset, I'll touch you on the shoulder. But I realized at a certain point, I need to pull my hand back because you're not finna calm down. They crossed the line and there's nothing I can do to stop you. And any man who's been with a real woman, they will tell you when those times come. Women know when the best thing they can do is grab your coat and start getting the car ready. Because the shit finna hit the fan. Whatever they did pissed you off to the highest degree of positivity, as they say. They're not trying to get in the way. And if we're being honest, most of the women who I talked to, they said the same thing. They got a little moist because her man defended her. And guess what we don't do? Because we're in this Christian mindset where we've been taught to do this and, bros before hoes and all this other dumb shit we say. And that's dumb. For us to be able to get to a point where we can hold evangelicals hostage, because that's what we need to do. We need to hold them hostage. When y'all bringing these perpetrators to us, these infiltrators, what did they call them in that movie? Colonizers. Your ass need to go. You need to go and take your colonizers with you because you're not good for us. You're setting us up to get okie doke. And that's something that we have got to start doing, but we got to start within our own clans first. Once we become an organized force, and then I get Theo and his son to become an organized force, together, we got a small army. Then I get Murphy to come in, but we don't do that. We don't do that. And we let people tell us, oh, well, that was just that one time. Well, how many times do it take to be disrespected before you feel disrespected? I'm thinking the first time is usually it. Now, if I disrespect Theo and he don't know it, or I don't know it, and he hit me, he said, yo, man, I ain't really careful. Oh, my bad, I didn't know. I ain't nothing to pray about. He brought it to my attention. I acknowledged it. And if I do it again, then there's no need for more conversation because now he knows I just don't give a shit about you. The only thing you can do at that point is start swinging. You can either swing or you can leave my space. And we want to be seen as Gentiles and forgivers. Go fuck forgiveness. And I think I told it. My dad told me, he said, sometimes, son, it ain't about what's right or what's wrong. It's what make you feel better. And we have to start adopting that mentality. When people screw us over, when people lead us astray, we have to call them out right then and not let them lead the next person to astray. I hate when people make posts on Facebook talking about, oh, somebody was in my inbox or somebody did this, and you think that nobody see? Call them out. Why are y'all letting infiltrators stay in there and not calling them out? Why not? I don't care whose friend they are. Me and Theo share a friend. We both know Murph. If Murph is doing something wrong, and I say this because we cool, why wouldn't I tell Theo? So now when he go to Theo's house and do something crazy, and he knew I knew, then he got to look at me and counsel me as well. And this, oh man, well, that was your friend. I ain't want to say that. Don't say nothing to me unless something happen. I'm setting everybody's asses on fire. And that's the mentality, because it ain't that you're violent, it's that you got to stop some things at the source. Because the best example I tell people is you're in a relationship. You and I'm gonna use Theo again because I'm telling the story and I need for him to. Theo and his girl, they having fun. Theo has a name for his girl that she don't like. She don't tell him for 6 months. She can't tell him 7 months later how much she disliked the name and think he can stop. She should have told him the first time he said it so that he could start getting rid of that habit then. 7 months in, that's a hard habit to break. We cannot break habits that we let go on for 10, 15, 20 years and think they're going to end like that, because that's what we keep hoping for. That's why we have to have friendships like me and Theo got, where I can say some things, he can say some things. We got to stop some of this stuff because certain things, what they say, oh, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, because now, oh, man, we know who you can talk shit to because they used to being talk shit to and don't nobody respect them. But you also know who you ain't going to say nothing to because They're not negotiators. They're swingers because they don't speak the Queen's English. Or like I used to tell people back in the day, I ain't that smart, so I don't know what to say to you, so I'm just going to fucking hit you. When I hit you, you're going to figure out a couple of things. I don't like you or I like to fight. Either way, you're going to change whatever you did to get struck. Or you're going to stay away from me. So I got what I wanted out the deal. And I said, oh man, you gotta watch him, man. He crazy. He'll do this. And guess what? And people stop bothering me. So guess who leading a peaceful existence now? Because everybody's scared of me. And I think that's what we are with white people. We scatter them. The churches ain't gonna call them out. You'll see. There's certain times we will call out black people. And as I look at this election, how many times have we called out 45's foolishness? They keep making excuses for it. Oh, it's just him being him. What the fuck? He could be him on his own time, but he's running for public office. Me and Theo can't be doing this show. Let's just say we blow up. Let's just say we blow up and a network hit us. Believe what you want to. When a network tell us about a check, me and Theo both gonna come with a bleeper and we're gonna start using better language. I guarantee it. What did Jay-Z say about money? You're damn right I'm going to change. I didn't work this hard to stay poor and broke. If somebody say, we want you to come on this, but you can't say this, you got it. There are shows I won't do because of certain clients. They pay me good. I'm not finna, nope. But you ain't going to keep it real? No. Not if it means I'm going to lose. No. I'm just not going to, I'm not going to lie about it. I'm just not going to talk about it. I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid. Theo, you got a fiance. If she do something that you know is going to cause y'all strife in the house, you're going to look 6 ways of Sunday to figure out a polite way. It's just like when they put on that ugly address and ladies, all y'all got an ugly address that we just don't like. It ain't worth it to tell y'all. If y'all feel good about it, we can put up with it for that one day. Yeah. You can't wear it to the company. You can't wear it to the company dinner. No. I will take that damn dress to the cleaners myself to make sure you can't get it. No, when we just go in the Piccadilly somewhere or in the kitchen, put that ugly dress on. But you're not wearing that. But I ain't not finna tell you it's ugly. No. I'm not finna tell you fat. No. I'm gonna do the same thing y'all do to us. When we start getting a little weight, what's the first thing women do? They start rubbing their belly. That's why I hate them. Don't touch my belly because you got good. But they do it without saying that, so you can't get mad because they didn't say shit. We have to learn how to get this across where we can still be leaders, rulers, kings, and hold other people accountable because we're being held accountable ourselves by ourselves. See? If I don't let Theo check me from time to time when I'm more in my feelings than I am in fact, then I ain't shit. Because there have been things that I have been wrong or off kilter about that he'll come like, okay, shit, let me go on and change my thought process on this. And vice versa. And again, somebody has said something to me about Obama. I'm not finna sit here and argue the debates about Obama, what he did or didn't do for black people. But that black hate crime bill, that came from Obama. And nobody in Georgia should say shit because Ahmaud Arbery, it came from a bill that Obama introduced. So quit saying he didn't do nothing. He didn't do as much as we wanted him to do, but most of us were politically ignorant and we didn't do enough to help him either. So we got to take some of that hit because most of us didn't understand politics. Could he have done more? The reason, how did 45 get to pick 2 justices? Remember, the same little white boy wouldn't let Obama pick one. He said, oh no, we're going to let the next president pick one. But then at the end of a 45 term, he didn't have that same sentiment. He's like, oh yeah, we're going to give him what he wants. See, we didn't help. So had he been able to get one of his judges in, had he been able to do a couple other things, our world might be totally different. Had he done, as Theo said, we probably wanted him to be a little bit more like 45 was, but we liked the image that he presented because he was regal. There's nothing regal about 45. But we would have wanted him to have just a little bit more hood in him. But he was doing what he had to do for him and his family. He didn't get in no scandals. To this day, he still ain't. And
well, he didn't get any that we found out about.
Right, any that we found, any that shamed us. And this is where we gotta be, because I did some bodyguard work. When I look at people like Andy Young and a couple others, if you ever hear them speak, I guarantee you, at about the 12-minute mark, when everybody's going to sleep, he's gonna bring up Martin Luther King's name to bring you back, because he's got nothing of substance. You'll see a lot of that from King's people. Whenever they are speaking, everybody starts going to sleep and they invoke King's name. And by law, by genetic defect, whenever we hear King's name, what are we supposed to do, Theo? We're supposed to sit up.
Yep, perk up.
And most of us don't even know shit about it. But when you hear his name, you can't lay your head down. You got to sit up. You got to pay attention. Most of this generation don't know nothing other than the first few words of I have a dream. They don't know nothing else. They know that because they hear it all the time. But this is what they live in, by bringing his name up so they can stay relevant. We got to push their asses on out the door. They wanted, you're right, Robert, they wanted Obama to be an activist, and he was. But he was an activist just not like Malcolm and not like Martin turned out to be.
I think he was an activist for Wall Street, and that's where again I say we have to pretend like we don't. We got to stop pretending like we don't have choices, because there's a reason that we don't see bankers marching on Washington for the rights of bankers. We don't see hedge fund managers marching on Washington for the rights of hedge fund managers. But we do see union workers. We do see women. We do see black folk. We do see Asians. Like these two parties are there to protect the interest of Wall Street. Main Street be damned. And I think as an extension of that, going to my earlier point, some kind of way, because capitalism has been infused into the American church by way of evangelicalism, that protectionism has been afforded to preachers, and for the white preacher, it means I can say whatever I want as long as I am elevating, one of the black guys from this circle. So for a while, Kenneth Copeland and Jesse Duplantis, and so when I was coming up there, the church that I grew up at, these folk all ran together. They were like a preacher posse, but it was as I kind of came out of that and was able to kind of to reflect on it, I was like, okay, he was a token black preacher in the thing. You know what I mean? And because of how the other white preachers elevated him, it silenced the congregation. So Kenneth Copeland, or a person of his stature, could rebuke black folk. I distinctly remember a time when Kenneth Copeland was coming under fire for calling black folk, for saying black folk need to stop acting like the N-word. And yet he was still invited back to preach. And so this pastor last week, there was some outrage around it. Not enough, but there was some. But it was like, well, the reason he feels comfortable doing that is because this is the tradition that they've been operating in. I mean, it's to me, it's kind of like the Jay-Z effect, to be perfectly honest with you. It's like, we can't because of how Jay-Z has been elevated. And I'm not dismissing his hard work. I'm certainly not dismissing his talent. I'm not dismissing just the merit, right? That he got there on his own merit. But what I am saying is, even Jay-Z gets a certain level of protectionism from us and from white folk because of who he represents to us on a substantive level. but who he reps. I'm sorry, on a symbolic level, but what he represents to them on a substantive level. Like we have always been trading symbolism for substance. We've always been in this this complicated relationship with like true progress and progress as a in theory. Hold on just a second. Actually, I gotta hold on real quick.
We don't know what we want. And until we can sit back and discuss what we want, we will never have a true, we won't ever have anything other than symbolism. The one something where, and we talked about this before, where we fail on a regular basis is we don't have a plan. So what your plan is versus what my plan is versus what Robert's plan is versus what Murph's plan is, we don't have a priority in line for us to sit back and say when we are truly making progress, because most of us are so selfish in nature that we want somebody else to do what we want them to do as opposed to what's good for us. The minute we can truly start to put us above me or you, then we can do this. And it's like when I talked about the LGBTQ, why do they get so much that they want? Because they don't go in there and throw everything at the wall. They want this first. They wanted to be able to have the marriages. They wanted to be able to get benefits. And they took out one thing at a time. They didn't go in there and just told 10,000 things up. You know, shit, we asking for child support, this. And we don't know on a federal level, we don't know what the president can do versus what the governor does. And I was talking to somebody earlier. When we bitching about lower gas prices, well, Kemp took the gas tax off, that lowered the gas price. There's nothing the feds can do about lowering the gas prices. When we bitch about, oh, man, our county poor, why they spending all this money in Ukraine, they ain't sending none over here. Again, the feds, watch the TV show, if this is true, the feds can only help when the local government asks them. They can't come in and take over. So if your governor don't ask for help from them, then they don't get shit. That ain't a presidential issue. We don't understand this. So we don't have people like THEO who can tell us how the government actually works. When we need something, we need to go to the oh shit. We need to go to the person in power to get what we want, not the person who's in charge of something. For most of us, there's nothing that affects us on a federal level. Nothing. Most of us aren't millionaires, so the tax thing that they do don't affect most of us. The crime bill that I hate, and I know you didn't bring it up like this, Robert. I hate when we bring it up. The federal crime bill was for federal criminals. Most of y'all don't know federal criminals. Y'all don't. The federal minimum wage went up to $15. That didn't affect 90% of the world. That affected federal employees. We keep confusing Fed with city and state, and Theo has told y'all before, if you're not going to vote, and I hate that I'm saying this out loud, if you're not going to vote, skip the president. Vote locally. This is where you got to show up in droves, because these are the people who take care of you, but who take care of us. Most of us don't make the six figures. The ones that do make the six figures make the low six figures. What you do locally counts. The feds don't pave roads. The feds don't put a whole lot into schools. The feds don't put a whole lot into housing. Harris says she got a plan to regulate some of it, but this can be done at the local level. We just don't ask for it because somebody has told us these are the people. These are the people who do this. When, again, we start talking to these evangelical leaders, have them bring some political people, political science people to come tell us what goes on. Don't bring a politician. Bring somebody who can explain the system to us so that we can pay more attention to who we vote for councilman, for alderman, for mayor, for all the local stuff. So then we can start affecting change, because we don't know the agents of change. And I don't mean to hurt nobody's feelings or bust nobody's bubbles, but getting on your knees and praying, it does not affect change, because I've seen people pray for people's grandmama, granddad, and Bible thumpers there, and guess what? They still died. They still died. Prayer changes things. Prayer don't change. Prayer doesn't change a thing. Heathens outliving Christians. Why is that? Y'all really think if your dude is so powerful, he don't need all these soldiers. He can do all this by himself. And I ain't here to saying stop, do whatever it takes to get by. But stop hoping your way through life. Let's get a plan. Let's prioritize. Again, as we've talked before, Get you some mini clans, 4, 5, 6 different groups, and everybody take their specific priority and march. Whichever one get picked first by something bigger, everybody get behind that one. Don't get mad because they picked THEOs first. Everybody just get behind whatever THEO pushing so we can get it passed. Then when it's your turn, be ready. But don't keep saying, why did THEOs get picked first? This is more important than this. This is more important than that. We become so selfish that we can't get nothing, and they can just keep placating us by saying, oh, and we get upset because we don't get nothing, but we didn't ask for nothing. Any of y'all remember the Sears Roebuck book that we used to get before Christmas to get your toys for Christmas? And mom and dad said, pick something. And they said it the first year because they thought you had good sense. And then you came back with 3 pages full of toys and shit. They told you to pick 10. But you didn't get before them 10 because we had to start learning to prioritize. You can't get everything you want. Prioritize. If you put 4 on there, chance are you can get all 4. If you put 10 on there, chance are you're going to get all 4. If you put 100 on there, they're not even going to look at your list because they don't know what you want. We have got to do a better job of holding people accountable who we either place in power position, who we give our money to, who we listen to. Rob, when you were saying, won't we tell them who to vote for? Well, too many of us think, oh, I'm my own person. And it's cute. That's not who we are. We all listen to somebody influences us somehow or another. And we got to accept that. But we have to be better at personally passing on information anytime we get invited. Okay, do your thing. Anytime we get invited to a talk box, we have to be better at explaining to people how things work unemotionally. Or even if we do it emotion, do it with a passion, not with a sense of guilt. Do y'all think some black people are against Kamala Harris because she is not what? I think some are against her because she's a woman. I've seen men talk about, oh, last thing I need is for a woman to be in charge because now these women are going to be off the chain. And I'm thinking, what the hell y'all been? These black women been off the chain for years, but we need them. If we're not going to vote for her, give me reasons that don't revolve around her race or genitalia. Give me facts, not some shit you heard. Oh, she locked up all these people in California. She didn't lock up nobody. Police lock up people. Judges sentence people. All the DAs do is conduct the case. But we don't know this. So we don't blame the right people. We don't blame judges who unfairly sentence people. We don't blame judges for a damn thing. We don't know how to check cops' record to make sure that they ain't just locking up people for the wrong reason. I don't want to hear nothing about a conviction that don't start with the word. If you can't say that your person is innocent and give me proof, then what are we talking about? What are we talking about? I think my live stream ended. Can y'all still hear me? Okay, I think I'm back. So, and that's what we got. That's what we got to get to. We can't keep sitting back, coming up with excuses for everything we won't do to make other people feel more comfortable. I think. Oh, okay, we're back. So, but that's it. You know, we can think of 1,000 reasons to keep us down. Some of us truly are still on a slave mentality. Some of us truly don't want to challenge a white man who says the most outrageous things on the planet. Some of us don't want to follow a woman, especially a black woman. But if it was simply a black issue, when Jesse Jackson got elected a long time ago, we saw through his charade. Al Sharpton ran. We saw through his charade. I'm looking for some truly good reasons, truly, not to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm sorry. other than you only voting for her because she black, which has never been a criteria of mine. Has she done some things I don't like? Absolutely. But so has my wife, so has my son. I didn't get rid of them either. Has 45 done some things that I like? Yes. So have other people. But I'm still not letting them into my house. Just because you had one good day, you did one good thing, doesn't mean I'm opening doors. We have to have discernment at some level. Without it, where are we? And why are we? It's a simple process most of the time. It looks like I am sliding. So I think I'm going to call it a day because nothing is happening. Uh-oh, am I back? I see the clock running.